Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I can taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Are we live?
We're live.
We're live, episode 172 with our friend here, Adam Sosnick. We have Vinny Oshana in the house. Tyler's sitting on the sidelines, but he's always very helpful. And a special guest today who's a very, very unique, special guest. You'll see why when we go through it. You're going to be confused a lot, but you're going to get a lot of clarity. And but she's cool as hell. Batya Ungar-Sargon. To the entire Syrian community that's been texting me and DMing me. I mean, when I say entire Syrian community,
Everybody.
I'm talking like 19 of them that have messaged me.
My mom?
Is she a Syrian?
Yep.
She is not a Syrian.
She's not a Syrian.
We were disappointed prior to the podcast. She's not.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
And she's also not a Palestinian Jew, according to the disinformation camp on social media.
Wikipedia.
Adam, she's
part of my people, y'all.
Yeah.
So
You Assyrians cannot claim her. She's part of the Jewish tribe.
But be honest, when you
We're
did
back.
hear Palestinian and Jewish, automatically I was like, that household must have been divided.
Oh, my God.
Right? Like the Gaza Strip. She's like, you stay on your
Yeah.
side, we'll be on this side. Don't argue with
She
mom.
loves me. She
You love
hates
me?
me. She loves
Carlos,
me. She hates me.
Vinny needs 5% down, by the way.
Yeah,
So
it's already happening.
her book, Bad News: How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. Here's what's interesting: she's a Marxist who thinks Trump is more of a Marxist and Sanders than maybe the AOCs of the world. Who knows? Maybe she. So again, like I said, it's very confusing, but we got a lot of topics to go through.
You totally get me.
So we're gonna have a good time. So how you doing?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on.
What an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, well, it's the pleasure's ours to have you on, and we're happy to have you. Do you mind taking a moment? You know, you're a deputy editor, I think, with Newsweek, and Newsweek is coming up. Just 10 years ago, 5 years ago, Newsweek was just Newsweek, but the last few years, both sides are kind of willing to. When a publication is pissing off both sides and attracting both sides, I think they're doing a good job, and I think that's what Newsweek's been doing the last couple of years. So if you don't mind taking a couple minutes here and just kind of introducing yourself to the audience, your background, a little bit about the book, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, I'm Batya Ungar-Sargon. I'm a deputy opinion editor at Newsweek. Exactly like you said, we run opinion from across the political spectrum, which means we make everybody angry, but everybody deserves a fair hearing, and that's what we're here to do, to fight cancel culture. And it's such a unique thing to do. I mean, it used to be that that was the mission statement of the New York Times, and that is clearly no longer the mission statement of the New York Times. And so, that's what we're doing, and it's really an honor to be part of a great team there. Let me tell you something interesting, though. So, Newsweek now is considered center-right.
Wow.
Not because we have more right-wing opinion. We don't. We actually have 3 kind of left-wing liberal opinion editors and 2 on the right. But because the very idea of hosting opinion from across the political spectrum is now coded as a right-wing conservative proposition. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
According to who, though?
That's the question.
Right. So people, there are sort of like websites that tell you where you.
I've seen this on the spectrum.
Perception.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's so nuts because the left used to be the side of let's hear from everybody, open-minded, open debate, and now the left is the side of no, if you don't agree with me, you don't get a hearing because silence is violence, words are violence, right? And it's now considered a conservative thing if you want to hear from both sides.
but
Isn't
wouldn't
that
it
wild?
be more centric, right?
Yeah, I think we're center. Yeah, I think we're dead center, But people will say now, oh, Newsweek has gone to the right. And what they mean by that is not that we have more conservative op-eds. What they mean is we're willing to hear from both sides. That's, to me,
How dare you? How dare you have both perspectives?
Totally.
What is wrong with you?
A lot of reporting, Fox, same thing, CNN, everybody. You can't say you're not biased. Everybody, I don't care how you're reporting it. But is it, you think because Newsweek is more of the point that we're just going to state this is the facts, this is the news, and they're not being like weapons. You know what I mean? They're not being like political operatives. You know what I mean? They're just, the news is the news, and here it is.
Yeah, and I think it's more even in the opinion section, we're saying, look, we want you to make up your mind. So we're going to have the left-wing view on this and the right-wing view on this and everything in between because you're smart enough to make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to say, this is what these people think, this is what these people think, and you, the American people, are smart enough to know which of those makes more sense.
Do you believe that, though?
Yeah.
That the American people are smart enough to make up their own minds?
Yes. You don't?
Some.
A chutzpah.
A chutzpah in the house. Some like to just kind of live in their echo chamber,
Right,
even if you tell them.
Yeah, you guys are not populous. That's the thing, because you guys made a bunch of money, and so you're smarter than everybody else.
I don't know about that.
I'm just a journalist, so I'm not smarter than anybody else,
Well, most journalists would not agree with you right now. Most journalists, according to you, are a little bit more on the wokey elite side of things these days.
Totally.
But listen, that's actually a very good debate to say, can people think for themselves and decipher whether a thing is good or not, process an issue for themselves? Because, I think mainstream media, many politicians are banking on majority people being dumb, and they talk to people as if they're dumb, and they're not. Like the other day, one of the reporters went up to President Biden and said, hey, how do you feel about the fact that your disapproval rating is at 94% with voters under the age of 30? And he just came up and he said, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. 92% of Democrats said they would vote for me again to run for office. And there is no data anywhere saying 92% of Democrats would vote for Biden. But that is an element of saying, listen, voter, I think you're dumb. And I think you're going to believe me. And I think because if I keep saying it, you're going to say, okay, cool. Maybe 92% do think he's doing a good job. And people are going to vote for him. So there is an argument there about the fact that, but I don't think it's the dumb. I think what I would say, Adam, is the lazy. I think voters are lazy to go do their own research. That's the challenge.
I actually don't agree with you on the lazy. I think it has to do with focus. Again, most people are just working, taking care of their family, taking care of their kids. They're trying to pay their bills. Like, they're so focused on everything else in life. And then when they get home, they watch reality TV, they watch a sports game, they crack open a beer.
Lazy.
Not even lazy. It's just like, maybe lazy is a different interpretation. Yes.
I'm not even born in America. You had a 4.2 GPA and you don't know the meaning of lazy.
I say this all the time. You can invest your time or you can spend your time.
Can you bring up the dictionary for this guy, please?
I know.
And define lazy.
Get lazy.
Lazy.
Get the definition.
You can invest your time.
How bad has this thing gotten with Adam that we have to define lazy?
Lazy.
Sure.
Pull it up, please. Unwilling to work or use energy.
I think they're willing to work. I think they're willing to use energy.
You need work
for
and
their
energy.
jobs, Pat. But out of work.
You're right.
Out of work.
You're right.
They want to spend their time.
Perfect.
Not invest their time.
So when it comes down to wanting to learn more about politics and policies, they're somewhat lazy. That's what we're saying. And I don't disagree with that.
That's where we disagree here.
You're disagreeing on a definition, buddy.
Hey.
Okay. So, by the way, this is good because Adam's in the disagreeing mode, so that we can get this thing really
I'm in a
started.
combative mode right
I
now.
have to admit, I disagree with you also.
Let's go!
On the lazy side? Tell me why.
Go, Batya.
2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They are so stressed out. They don't know if they should take the $50 they have left in their bank account and use it to buy meat for dinner for their kids for maybe the last time this month, or use it to fill up the gas so they can take the kids to church on Sunday. People are struggling, and the idea that they should care about politics at this moment, to me, just I'm with them. Like, they're right. These politicians want us talking about them and defending them because that's their career. They want poor Americans, struggling working class Americans, to be spending their time beefing up, representing them instead of the other way around. So I'm kind of with Adam on this. I feel like I really want to talk about this with you guys because, like, the view that I have, like, I'm now working on my next book, which is about the working class. And so I'm spending all my time that I'm not working for Newsweek interviewing people, working with them, in their trucks with them, working side by side with them. And the struggle is real. And these people are not lazy. These people work 13, 14, 15 hours a day, and they're always treading water. And so I really, at some point, want to get into it with you guys, about if you think that your success really is totally duplicable and the things that get in the way of people being able to achieve what you have.
I do. And by the way, I will defend the lazy argument and I'll push back.
Okay.
Let me explain to you why. If you know every show on Netflix and you're broke, you have a problem. You're lazy. If you know every hit song that comes out and you're broke, you're lazy. If you know every single post on social media of other people's lives and you don't have another hustle that you're working, you have to accept the fact that you're lazy. Let me go a little bit deeper with this on my own personal life. My hip hop music stops in 03. I'm being that serious with you.
I swear to God.
Mine stops in 03.
Yeah.
My nightlife stops in 03. My chasing of women the way I did stopped in 03. My desire to want to watch and consume every single sporting event that I never missed a Lakers game from the moment I came to the States. And when I joined the Army boot camp, obviously you can't watch TV. But then afterwards, I've never missed a Laker game from the age of being 12 years old coming to the States to the age of being 24 years old, 23 years old. Lakers was my religion. Sports stats was my religion. And I was broke. And my dad kept having heart attacks. And my dad worked at a 99-cent store on Manchester and Normandy while I'm working at Bally's 60 hours a week. I'm working at Bally's. I'm the top sales guy at Bally's because I wanted my dad to be done, but I couldn't make enough money. I was making $3,000 a month. But at the time when I was off, I wasn't working a side business. I was doing anything to entertain myself. We are fooling ourselves if we're going to sit there and just put all the responsibility on the people who have succeeded and not put any responsibility on the folks at the bottom that we're going to say, well, poor you, you're working so hard. But then how do you know so much about all these shows? I don't understand. I've never watched this Montana. What is this Montana show? What is this show?
Ozarks.
Yellowstone. I don't even know I don't know what Yellowstone is. I've never watched Breaking Bad. I've never watched Sopranos. I've never watched an episode of Sopranos. The only series I've ever watched from 03 till today is House of Cards season 1 because people kept telling me I got to watch it. So as much as we want to sit there and say, oh my gosh, poor me, poor this, poor that, which I come from a family where half of them were communist and half of them were imperialist. The one on the communist side, that's all they ever talked about. Their Bible was Communist Manifesto. And the ones on the right, they kept saying, you know, why don't you do something? Every time, it was more fun for me to talk to the communists than it was to talk to the conservatives because the communists would feel sorry for me and it was safe. And it was warm. It was fuzzy. It was so much better. Every time I went to the communists, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, it's them. I'm like, that's right. You're right. And I would feel special. But every time I went and talked to these suckers on the other side, the conservatives, they would say, what are you doing about it? Why don't you make a change? Why don't you pick up a book? Why don't you get another job? I'm like, bullshit. You don't understand. This is unfair. Eventually, I'm 23 years old, looking at my bank account, broke. And I said, which philosophy do you want to buy into, Pat? Which one do you want to buy into? Then I chose. So now, is there things on the elitist side that's happening as well? Sure. But for us to fool ourselves thinking people don't have any options to make a change.
Wait. So but you skipped over the most important part. Okay, so you chose. How did you get from Bally's to here? Like, walk me through that.
I went into military and I got some discipline for 2.5 years because I didn't have it.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Anytime. So I got out. I needed it. So I think many boys who are undecided, military is a good choice for them. I got out. When I got out, I worked at Bally's. While I'm working at Bally's, a guy named Robbie Solomon and my sister recommended me to read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Keep in mind, I hate books. Till 21 years old, anybody who knows me from high school, they know I've never finished the book cover to cover. Never. I've never finished the book. I never finished, Of Mice of Men. I never finished, what's the one with Nelly petting, is it Lenny? Lenny was petting the rabbit.
That's Of Mice and Men.
Okay,
Mice and Men.
What was the other
The
one?
same book that he didn't finish.
What's the one that was then this?
1984.
Okay, no.
Fahrenheit 451. Are you saying the books they assigned you in high school?
Listen, I've never finished a book cover to cover. Never until 21. And Robbie said, read How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. And I did. And then my sister said, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a good book to read. I read those 2 books. When I read those 2 books, I sat there and I said, this information is in a book for $10? Holy shit. What other recommendation you got? Next one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Psycho-cybernetics. Power versus Force. And I kept reading. And I'm like, this information is insane. Then I started realizing I'm making way too many excuses. I'm blaming the world for my problems. I'm not taking any responsibility. Some of the mindsets that my mother's side gave me is right. Some of it isn't right. Some of the mindsets that my dad gave me is right. Some of it isn't right. I stopped questioning things, and I said, listen, if I want my life to change, I got to make a decision about it. My parents brought me here to be free. My dad gave me work ethic, and next thing you know, I start. I'm dating a girl named Jean-Vier who's working at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. And I said, so why is it that, you have all these nice cars? And she says, well, I work at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I said, how can I get a job there? She says, you need to go to UCLA. I said, I'm not going to school. She says, they're not going to hire you. I said, I'm not going to go to college. She says, you're not going to work at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I said, let me see if I can find a creative way to get a job. So I went and printed my resume, okay, and I put a cover letter with a nice joke, getting creative. I faxed it to 200 places, Goldman, Merrill, Smith Barney, TD Waterhouse, Morgan, all of these places. I got 30 callbacks. 15 of them laughed because the joke was funny. Yeah. The other 15 offered me an interview. 3 gave me offers. At 21 years old, I started working on Morgan Stanley Dean Witter a day before 9/11.
Jeez.
So let's see.
How many other people there didn't have a college degree?
None of them.
You were the only one.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So, but
how good was that joke?
But wait a minute. But wait a minute.
What was that joke?
But
What
wait
was
a minute.
the joke?
But wait a minute. I really want to know where you go from here. Yeah. I really want to know where you go.
Well, we
from
got to
here.
hear the joke first.
Yeah, we got to hear the joke.
I tell you the joke. The joke was a father has 3 sons. He tells his 3 sons, when I die, I want you to drop $1,000 in the what do you call it?
In the casket grave.
When I'm dying, in front of the family, you have to show how much you love your father. Okay. First son drops $100 bills.
Okay.
Second son drops $20, $50 bills. Third one is a financial advisor. He cuts a check for $3,000, takes the cash, and walks away.
That's brilliant.
So I said,
amazing.
if you want a guy creative like me, hire me.
Oh, that's great.
So, but what do you say to that? I'm curious. The job, did I have it because of my last name, because I'm special, because I'm smart, because of, how did I get that job?
So like, they don't hire people. She was right? Like, she wasn't wrong. They don't hire people without a college degree, which is terrible, by the way, because you learn nothing at college. The only thing you learn at college is to have contempt for the working class, like to have contempt for people who don't have a college degree. So this is not a pro-college argument. This is like an anti-Morgan Stanley argument, that they insist that people have this credential just for their own prestige, right? It has nothing to do with what you learn there. But anyway, setting that aside.
It's their choice.
Right, they can.
A lot of companies don't implement that rule, though.
It's
now.
changed since then.
It's slowly changed.
Yeah.
Especially the big tech companies.
Yeah, totally. Tech is good on this front. Only this front, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut that clip up real quick.
Yeah,
supporting
that
big
happen.
I don't have to have an explanation for it. I mean, I assume it has something to do with your charisma and the force of your personality and something unique that was first conveyed through that cover letter and then in interviews, which I think Like, I think you're being a little bit
I disagree.
Consciously naive. But because the fact that you're the only one who did it, right? Like the fact that you're the only one who managed to do it.
I disagree. I'm not the only one that did it. My friend Steve Avetian was another 1.8 GPA guy. He came out. He was, doing nothing. He was helping out his dad as a truck driver. Him and his buddy Alfred decide to go being truck drivers. You tell me who's a truck driver. They were nobodies like, oh, they're going to make it in business. No 4-year, no 2-year, no nothing. They're running a $300 million transportation business today. So I can go on all of these stories to say, hey, let's keep feeling sorry for everybody. There's a big difference between sympathy, empathy, and trying to rise up.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to come off as someone who's like, oh, you should all feel sorry for it. I don't want to come off that way at all.
Okay, we're on the same page there.
They don't feel that way. Like, they're proud of their work. They feel that it gives them dignity.
I think what they're doing is also is something they should be proud of.
Okay, so I guess that would be my next question, would be like someone has to be the person who is the custodial staff, right? Who's not going to make it big, right? Someone has to be the person who is stocking the shelves at the supermarket, right? We all rely on the labor.
That's a choice.
But we need them. We need.
No one's judging them.
Right, but I'm saying, so because we need them, we should be invested in those jobs granting dignity and a living wage, because we need them to not be
and we do
in this job or in this job.
And we do.
Right. So, but from their point of view, they're struggling.
Oh yeah.
And they are struggling.
And by the way,
So what's the answer to that? Yeah.
But why don't we see why are they struggling?
Because you can't live on $15 an hour in New York City.
But why are they struggling though? Why are they struggling though? Is your argument only they can't make it on $15 an hour?
The housing market, the wages.
Okay, so why do we have
marriage is a big part of it. Actually, you talk about this a lot.
Okay,
but, yeah.
but why let's actually dissect.
Oh yeah, okay. Why is there a housing problem?
I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write notes. So tell me why they're struggling. I'm going to take notes. I'll be the student.
Oh God, this is
No,
inflation.
but by the way, guys, I hope you understand. Like, this is why the audience likes these types of conversations.
I love it.
And this is why I have so much respect for you that you'll go anywhere and talk to anybody and you impose your argument.
By the way, I have a very serious question for you. I know, I'm going to wait.
We
I'm
have
just
to
teeing
go
it up.
here.
Yes.
Stay there.
Yes.
We have to go here. So why are they here? Why
are they struggling?
Why are they here? Yeah, why are they struggling?
So there's sort of three tiers of people in, let's say, what we would call labor, the working class,
Okay.
right? The top tier is not struggling at all. Cops, electricians, plumbers, like there's a lot of dignity in those jobs right now. They're well paid. They make a living wage, and a lot of them are able to afford their own homes, especially if they live in red states where housing is not the same as it is in.
Are you talking about the working class, blue collar jobs here, if you will? Okay, so that's the
people
upper
without
echelon.
a college degree who aren't rich,
Echelon of working class.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of government employees.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you have the middle tier who are people who, like, they're not poor. And I wouldn't even say they're struggling. They're not like lying awake at night. How am I going to pay for this or that? Although right now it's very difficult because of inflation, but that's it's a unique situation right now. Their biggest struggle is they do not have access to the American dream because they're not going to be homeowners in their lifetime. And we know that owning a home is how you transfer that wealth to the next generation, right? What's sort of a classic standard for like what we call like middle class life, right?
And who are these people?
These
like what type of
people
jobs?
A lot of truckers are in this position. This is people who are making between 40 and 60, 65.
What, retail, truck drivers? What else?
Retail's one lower, I would say.
Really?
So yeah, so truckers, people who are, let's say in the trades often, if they're not
maybe editors and graphic designer types.
A lot of people in the bottom layer of the tech industry, these are people who are making, like I said, between 40 and 60. If you're making 60 and you're living in New York, you'll never own a home, right? If you're making 40 and you're living here, it would probably be difficult as well. And then you've got that bottom tier of people all of these people are people whose labor we rely on to exist, right? Like we rely on them not deciding to become an entrepreneur and make $1 million so that they no longer have to do these jobs. Just as a society, we rely on them, right?
But who are these bottom rung people?
The bottom rung are people who are in retail, people who are cashiers. 3.5 million people are cashiers, 3 million retail associates in America, fast food workers, right? Now, it happens to be that even though the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, something like $7.59 an hour, most of these people now are making between 12 and 15. The problem is that in many of the places, that is not a living wage. That is basically poverty wages, So where I live in Brooklyn. I actually don't live in like one of the most expensive neighborhoods. I live in an immigrant neighborhood. It's sort of more reasonable. But still, the guy who delivers my Amazon packages could never dream of owning.
Yeah, but are these people immigrants? Is there any data of who these people are?
Who is?
Like this lower third.
It's a lot.
Who are they?
I'll tell you who they are.
Are they just naturally born Americans who just strive to be a McDonald's worker? I doubt it.
The question of which tier you end up in is very interesting. What it seems to me like, and this is something, Pat, you've brought up on your show, is that one of the number one predictors of whether you end up in the bottom is whether you come from a single mother family and whether you are a single mother or a single parent, because we know that marriage is very tightly correlated with higher earnings. And economists don't know exactly why that is, but it's quite hard to be poor if you're married. I mean, that's just a weird phenomenon of American life that nobody wants to talk about,
You're
right?
saying it's
because
hard to be poor if you're married?
Married men, let me give you a statistic, okay? Because this blew my mind. So the median income is around $44,000 a year, right? The median income for a black male head of household who's not married is $33,000 a year. The median income for a black male head of household who's married is $93,000 a year. which is not a nobody who's making that is struggling, you know? That's a person who's living a middle-class life. So the answers are not, oh, you should feel sorry for these people, right? The question is, how do we get more people from the bottom into the higher rungs? But again, like I said, like some of that labor, right? Fast food workers, right? We rely on that. We rely on there being people to...
But stay there, though. So let me ask you a question. The population today is what? 7.9 billion.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did it take us to double that population? 60 years. 60 years ago, we were at 3.6 billion. How long did it take us to double that 3.6 billion to 1.8 billion? 40, 50 years prior to that, we had 1.8 billion. I can keep going back and right. Okay. The idea of a person staying where they're at, everything in life is about graduating. Okay. What's graduating? One should not stay in a position forever without graduating to the next level. We should grow. And we should create an environment where people are developing and increasing the level of contribution to society. That's me. I worked at Burger King. I wanted to be a cashier. They never made me a cashier. I worked as a chef. I was a cook. I made Whoppers, no onion.
At Burger King.
I bragged about it. I was a chef. They gave me a medium shirt, and I was 6'1". You could see my lower back. My guys would come and laugh at me. No joke. My friends know exactly what I'm talking about.
Can I just say, you are amazing. Like, you're so cool. What you've been through and, like, what you've achieved. Like, it's very cool. Like, your story is very inspiring.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But also for me, everything that's inspiring to me, I look at guys like what life he lived and how he became who he is today, from sleeping on a couch as a comedian to having made it in the insurance business and nothing in his background says about it. Good for him. I see him from going from military to then becoming a comedian. Next thing you know, he's on Def Comedy Jam and he made it. But by the way, you know, a lot of us have that story of going from nothing to making it. Making it doesn't mean being a billionaire. Yesterday I was having a call with Penguin. We're launching the next business book, and you know how you're talking to publishers and you're going through a book title and like, well, you know, we have to talk about what the book title is. And a part of yesterday's conversation was, I said, the most important question to ask is, who do you want to be in life? Well, what do you mean? I said, listen, you don't have to be Bezos. Bezos wanted to be Bezos. You don't have to be Musk. You don't have to be a millionaire. But who do you want to be in life? The moment you know who you want to be in life, go solve for that. What's not healthy is if you chose to live a regular life and you're envious of somebody else that chose to live a bigger life. The life of a bigger life isn't a better life.
Right.
It's not an attractive life. A lot of people only see what happens 20, 30 years later. Nobody wants to see what happened those 5, 10, 15 years while they were not there at any of the events.
It's called the iceberg
It
effect.
sucks. It sucks. So guess how many people want to go through that 10, 15, 20-year period? Not many, man. It is horrible. It's tough. It's scary. Costs marriages, relationship, family time, fun, party, and all that stuff. This whole concept of winning at a higher level sucks. Now, if somebody says, well, I don't want to go through it, no one should judge them. No problem. You're right. You can go and contribute at any levels that you want. But the question I ask you is, why are those people in the situation they're in? What policy caused them to be in the situation they're in? And who created those policies?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we keep printing money and throwing money to poor and then wondering...
Yeah, I'm against that. Yeah.
You're against that. I'm against that as well.
I'm against that. I'm against welfare.
Okay, you're against welfare.
Yeah, because they make the working class support the poor. I hate that.
So how do we lift up the middle class? What's your way of lifting up the middle class?
That's the question.
I'm curious.
So each tier needs different things.
Okay.
You know, like so the top tier, like they need respect. What do cops need from us right now?
Big time respect.
They freaking need our respect because they're out there getting shot and killed and they can't do their jobs and the criminals aren't scared of them anymore.
Yep.
You know, this is a job that every American relies on, and the elites sit there and they smear
Tough
these
job.
people. They smear these people who are out there giving their lives to defend them. It makes me crazy.
We're on the same page.
Right? Union high-skilled trades. These are great jobs. What do they need? They need our respect. They need the next generation of people who are good with their hands and intelligent and smart to have a pathway to that. Vocational schools. We don't have any vocational schools. The idea that this is a respectable job so that kids who are coming from, you know, who are not good at school maybe, you know, that they have access to that version of the American dream. So the top tier really needs very little, right? They don't need anything from us. They don't need anything from the government. That's for sure, right?
You're saying the top tier of the working class.
Yes,
I'm just being clear.
exactly, yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's a very, very good point. One of the best books on marriage is Love and Respect. I don't know if you've ever read the book Love and Respect. I mean, shout out to the authors. It's a great book that if you're married, you may want to read it. If you think about getting married, you ought to read it. Talking about what men need and what women need, the understanding that men just sometimes need what? Just respect me, man. I mean, that's what I need. You need. And then women need love. But I understand the point you're making right there. Okay, what else can we do to lift these guys out of poverty? Because right now, a statistic came out, which concerns me the most. Do you know in the last 70 years what the average property value has been compared to your income? Let me ask this question one more time. So, for example, if you make $60,000 a year, and that's the average income in America, household income, you know what the average property value has been based on that $60,000 a year income?
Like what they're buying as a house?
Give me the times, like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, 10 times.
Like
what do you think the average has been?
Is it like
Adam, you understand this question?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think that has been?
Is it like a $500,000 house compared to a $60,000 income?
So no. So let me ask the question one more time. If the average, historically, in the last 70 years, if the average American makes $60,000 a year, how many times their income is the average home value in America?
7?
So 50 years ago, I think it was about 2. Now I think it's more the average house now sells for $300,000. So $300,000 is how many times 60? It's 6 times
4,
more,
yeah.
6,
I was
7
gonna say
times.
6 or 7.
So 5 times, 300 divided by 60.
Yeah.
So here's where it is. Historically, it's been 5. We've hit 2 or 3. We've never in the last 70 years gone above 7. It is 8 times today. You tell me how the hell middle America can afford that?
Exactly.
So you're making $60,000 a
Wait,
year.
so what's your answer to that?
Well, so what happened with that? What is the problem with that?
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren is right about this. The problem is women entering the workforce and driving up the cost
She
of
talked
middle
about that
class
years ago.
life.
She ain't talking about that today.
I
though.
totally
She ain't talking about that today. She flipped on that when she talked about 20 years ago. But
What, you're
Elizabeth,
saying your problem is that women have entered the workforce and that's been a bad thing for society?
It's been a bad thing for the middle class, that's for sure.
You don't sound very pro-feminist.
I think being Marxist means that you're not. I mean, I would consider myself a feminist. I think women should have the choice. But most women who are working, it's not women like me because they're like addicted to their jobs and it gives them meaning and self-esteem.
Yeah.
They're working at Walmart or they're, you know what I mean? They're working because they have to support their family because a man can no longer afford to support a family on a single income.
So what should those women be doing then?
They should have a choice. I mean, they should have a choice. I think a lot of women would like to raise their children. But instead of having that, we have a welfare state that's trying to make free pre-K. Again, trying to make working class people pay taxes so their women could go were forced to work at Walmart instead of staying home.
Yeah,
and raising
but
their
those
kids.
women, I get it from from 0 to 5, stay home, raise the kids. But once the kids are in middle school, high school, you don't need to stay home and take care of your kids anymore.
Right. So, but that's again, it's like, could they then have, a part-time option? What Elizabeth Warren argued.
What the hell are they going to do with their time if they're just sitting around all day cleaning?
So you're saying
by the way,
that
this is a very big argument that she's making, and it's very important. Very important. For you, was your mom working when you were from born to 18?
Yeah.
The entire time.
Yes.
She had a job all those years.
She was a
full-time or part-time?
Teacher, and then she was a nurse, and she's been doing the same job.
Full-time or part-time?
Full.
Full-time.
And
okay.
what did your dad do?
He was a businessman. So maybe people call it a shady businessman, but we won't go there. However, he was working.
Oh my God, I love that. That's our people's. That's our heritage.
Well, that's our heritage. That's our heritage.
Yeah, but women, this is you're a person who loves and respects and finds meaning in their work.
Right.
But you're saying that most women don't. They have to sacrifice their livelihoods just to put food on the table. What's your argument for women?
I'm saying there's this messed up thing now where what the leftist elites want, right? Build Back Better wanted to take taxpayer dollars from working class families, right? To give them free pre-K. And there's something messed up about that because a lot of these women, right, would rather stay home and raise their own kids. They're like, you can't do that. You have to work and then pay taxes, and we'll take that money you make while you're working and we'll raise your kids, right? I think that's super messed up. But I want to come back to housing. What do you think caused the housing? What do you think caused it to be 8 times, the income, and how do we fix it?
Okay, so do you guys know the difference between quantitative easing and tightening? Do you know the difference?
No, if you want me
Okay.
my head to pop off my head, Pat, I have no idea.
Please, as an economist, can you tell us the difference?
Yeah,
Listen, I'm a respectable guy. I'll give you the floor so you could, because I don't want to show off and take everything with quantum physics, quantum leap. I saw a show once called Quantum Leap. I don't even.
You sure you don't want to break down
Adam,
quantitative easing
Adam, guys,
and mortgage-backed
Okay.
security?
I'm
Okay.
giving-
Let me just simplify it. Okay. By the way, I'm going to explain it to you in the simplest way that you'll be able to teach it to anybody moving forward.
Okay.
You ever had a credit card?
Yep.
Okay. Quantitative easing is when American Express, Visa, MasterCard calls you and tells you your credit limit has gone from $5,000 to $15,000. Congratulations to you. Quantitative easing is when Visa, MasterCard calls you and tells you your credit limit has gone from $15,000 to $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Did you understand the difference?
No, say them again.
No, quantitative tightening.
Quantitative
Tightening,
tightening
yeah.
is 15 becomes 5. Quantitative easing is 5 becomes 15,000.
Gotcha.
Which means, guess what, Adam? Go spend more money.
Yeah.
We got your back. That's not your money, but we'll let you spend more money.
Wow.
Quantitative tightening is, listen, we are seeing your spending habits. We're taking 10,000 back. Your credit limit is only 5,000. For the longest time, since 08, whatever the timeline's been with quantitative easing, let's bail all these big guys out. The more we've bailed people out, the more they've sat around saying, oh, it's okay, man. My daddy's going to bail me out. Oh, my daddy's going to bail me out. Do whatever you want, bro. Daddy's going to bail you out. Like 100. My daddy's going to bail me out. My daddy's going to bail me out. My daddy's going to bail me out. It's time to stop bailing these bigger companies out. They're too big to fail. Today, when we're going to quantitative tightening, every single month, their plan is to take $95 billion of credit off the table. So what does this mean? The government's going to say, hey, Mr. Bank XYZ, you had this much, now we're lowering it. And every month we're taking $95 billion off the table, okay? They're tightening the economy. We have not experienced this ever. In the history of America, we tried quantitative tightening briefly in 2008 for maybe a couple months. The market crashed when we tried quantitative tightening. Like, no. Here you go. Here, put some more money into the market. Feed more money into the market. When they did that, they bailed out the guys at the top. The guys at the top got richer. Middle America, the division got wider. Now we got people that can't afford to buy a house. It's 8 times their income. What the hell are you going to do? Keep increasing the minimum wage? That's not the strategy on what to do. That's not the solution to do that. So we're about to go through quantitative tightening, and I hope this next phase that we go through, they don't get in the way of these companies going out of business. The part about capitalism that I love is the following. And this
Wait, can we, before we move on from this,
let me make this point, and then you can go to it. This is the part.
because I didn't understand totally, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This is the part.
Yeah.
The part I love about capitalism is 4 freedoms. You have the freedom to buy. You have the freedom to sell. We have the freedom to try. And last but not least, which some people don't like, we have the freedom to fail.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that awesome? I didn't come up with it. Founding fathers came up with this, so don't give me the credit for it.
No, Pat, that was all you.
No, Patrick Ben David,
Buy,
everybody.
freedom to sell, freedom to try, and a freedom to fail. We have to let the too big to fail.
Yes.
It's that simple. And we've stopped that the last 15 years. You know what's even scarier? Do you know in the history of America? Do you know in the history of America, okay, since the Great Depression, do you, even prior to that, 1850s, do you know what's the longest time America's ever gone without a recession? When do you think it is? You ready? Today. 14 years. No way. Yes, we've had recessions every 5 to 7 years, and they last 6 months to 43 months. We have gone 14 years without a recession.
So we're about to
we
pop.
desperately, not in a negative way, we desperately need a recession.
Whoa.
We desperately need a
Wait,
recession.
is that because of Uncle Trump?
Well,
No, the economic expansion was 129 months prior to the 129 months of economic expansion that we had started in 08. So that economic
Since the last recession.
So you got to go from Bush to Obama to Trump to so.
Walk
But
me
people think that
through-
COVID was a recession. It was just a brief blip
COVID was
on
not-
like
COVID
a
was
drop
not a
and then
recession.
back up
Yeah.
Very quick.
because of quantitative easing
Yeah.
and money
Very
printing.
brief.
and Pat, not to cut you off, but so do you think, Pat, because this administration isn't admitting, like, hey guys, like it's really bad right now, it's happening, they're just getting like the elastic band
Guys,
is just
this is
stretching,
not a
stretching.
Democratic thing or Republican thing. Because during this economic expansion that we had a year of Bush left. But when did Obama get elected? Wait, can you pull up exactly what month the 128-month economic expansion started? I think it's like sometime in 08. So it's Obama, Trump, Biden. You got three Democrats. Terms is what I'm not saying three Democrats. You got three Democrats, you got one Republican. Okay? And what did all of them pretty much do? Let's print to bail out. What month did it start? June of 09. Is it June of 09? Okay, who was the president in June of 09?
Because Obama took office in January of 09 after he was elected in 08.
So the greatest economic expansion, just so you know, Batya, started under Obama.
You're so smart.
I'm not smart. I'm telling you, I'm not.
Figure all this out.
I'm not smart.
I've never heard anyone say this, and all I do all day is watch the news.
No, I'm not.
Because you're dealing with politicians and people focus on politics, not business.
I'm literally like, all right, we're changing everything. I'm just going to sit
just
here.
take notes.
No, you're clear. But the part.
Wait. You have to walk me through this. Walk me through easing, tightening, and exactly how that took housing prices and made them higher. I missed that link, and that I can't walk out of here without knowing that.
Okay, so think about like if I'm buying bad paper. Okay.
So
imagine if there's a bunch of defaults and you're the bank. You're like, hey man, bail us out. Don't worry, give us all the shitty paper. We'll buy it. Because when let's just say I'm a small little bank, and I got $10 million. Okay. If I'm $10 million bank and I take $500,000 home loans, how many home loans can I get? 20 of them, right? Because I'm given that loan. But let's just say if I get 10 houses I finance, that's how much money? That's $5 million, okay? I don't keep that $5 million. I go to the bank and I sell it. And I make a % or 2 or whatever the percentage on me selling the paper to somebody else. For years, they've been buying paper and nobody gives a shit if it's good or bad paper. Okay? That's the whole Big Short principle.
Right.
Don't worry about it. We'll buy the paper.
Right.
Just send it to us. We'll send it. And all of a sudden, they're like, we're no longer buying it. Wait, what? No, we're no longer. We're no longer buying it. What do you mean you're no longer buying it? We're no longer buying it. Oh, shit. We have to bail these banks out because they're no longer buying it. So if you don't allow people to fail, and you keep getting in their way of failing, you're not allowing the pruning process to come through.
So you're saying in a natural situation, the price of the houses would be determined by how much money a bank had and was able to guarantee in terms of a mortgage. But the price went up because another bank was willing to buy that bank's mortgage that it gave? Is that the argument?
No. It's like fake money was entered into the market to not prevent those big companies from going out of business. Fake money.
Right.
So it's kind of like.
But how exactly did that impact the price of a house?
How did it impact the price of the house?
Yeah, how did that drive the prices up?
There is more money circulating in the marketplace.
Oh, I see. So it's like an inflation argument. Yeah.
Exactly.
The more money,
so everything costs more because there's more money. Okay, got it.
But income didn't go up.
Right.
So that's you gotta let the market fail. Okay. So the principle. Do you have any kids?
No.
Okay, I got 4 of them. Right. Okay. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this parenting stuff. I'm figuring out every day. I'm trying to learn what it is to parent. But the part about my dad, one of the best things my dad did is the following. I went to my dad one day. I said, Dad, I'm $49,000 in debt. I need you to bail me out. Okay? I said, you're my father. You love me. You're my hero. I need you to bail me out. He sat me down and he says, you're going to learn the best lesson from me today, buddy. I said, what's that? I'm not going to bail you out. I said, but I'm your son. I'm not going to bail you out. I know you can figure out a way to get out of this. I think you're going to pull it off. This is a man who's a 99-cent store cashier who dropped out of school in 8th grade. His son almost followed in his footsteps, but I took 4 more years, okay? But he dropped out in 8th grade just to start working. Regular guy, okay? For 1 week, I don't talk to my dad. I go around telling everybody, your dad this and your dad this and your dad this. My dad bailed me out. I can't believe your dad didn't. And I'm just bitching about my dad. You know what I did? I came back and I said, I'm going to pay this freaking money off. And I did, okay? Eventually paid it off. My credit went from 484, 495, 499 to a nice credit score, right? But my dad was not afraid of his son failing. Now, if I would have failed, Could I have gone and retaliated against him and started doing drugs and doing stupid shit to hurt him? Of course. That's the risk a parent has to take. And that's the risk a nation has to take. Some of these companies may go out of business and it may hurt for a year or two, but we got to go through it. We got to stick through it and go through it. And I don't think politicians are allowing that to happen because the people that are supporting their campaigns protect them and own them. And that's what I don't like about American politics. The lobbyists who Paul Manafort sat in your chair just 2.5 months ago, there are so many of them out there that have bought these politicians, and it's screwing up low and middle income families, unfortunately.
I have to say, it's so spiritual what you're saying. Like, our whole religion is based on the same principle, which is that, like, you know, if you don't have the option of failure, if you don't have the option of sin, then you also don't have the option of redemption, and nothing means anything.
Yep.
And I think that is actually a value that the American working class is deeply attached to, which is the idea of autonomy. Like, I want the fruits of my labor. I don't want a handout. I want the right to fail, because without the right to fail, you don't have the right to succeed. I mean, that's
Can I just read the quick definition of quantitative easing, just to kind of build your case a little bit, and I'm going to process how I see it, and you tell me if I'm understanding this correctly. So QE, quantitative easing, is a monetary policy strategy used by central banks like the Fed. With QE, a central bank purchases securities. This is half of it. Purchases securities in an attempt to reduce interest rates, increase the supply of money, and drive more. And here's the key word: and drive more lending to consumers and businesses. Like Pat said, oh, your credit card's 5. Your credit card limit is 5. Let's bump it up to 15. So this is kind of the inflation thing. Is they just increase the credit limit, increase the lending. What's lending? It's just taking on more debt.
Yeah, you're boring.
Hey, take on more debt.
Right.
Wait, but you're not making any more money. You'll figure it out. Just borrow more money. But I'm not. My business actually isn't profitable. We'll bail you out. We'll keep you afloat. And that's essentially what you're saying. Is they're just increasing the credit limit, spend. But it doesn't seem like there's justification based on your income. That's how I'm processing what you're saying with the increasing the credit limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, failing sucks. It's emotional, it's painful, it's embarrassing, it's publicly humiliating. You know, in Hollywood, you know how many, like, I saw a movie the other day with Nicolas Cage, a new movie that came out. You know what the movie is about? No. It's about the character in the movie called Nick Cage.
Oh, really?
Who's the greatest actor in the world.
Oh, God.
Who no longer is that
needed
to be in a movie. I think it's worth watching.
Okay.
But the whole story is about him.
Wow.
Like, it's a movie. He's acting himself, but it's like when they no longer want you to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard that is as an actor, where you go from being Nicolas freaking Cage to Nick Cage?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
How you doing, Nick?
He ain't no Nick.
Yeah.
This guy at one
Nicholas.
point owned the...
He won an Oscar. He's a freaking...
But the point is, like, how hard is it when you do one bad movie, it flops, and then boom, Waterworld. Remember Waterworld with Kevin Costner? Shit, I mean, they got a nice park in Universal Studios, but that's pretty much it.
And Batya, just to piggyback, because I mean, like, your amazement, especially like with Pat, who's such an amazing guy, not kissing ass for everybody that's listening to this. So I was in Hollywood, I was in the military, I was in the Air Force.
Thank you so much for your service.
My sister's retiring of 25 years on Friday. My brother was in for 6 years. You know, went to there. I know that God put me here to make people laugh. That's my number one. I know that's what it is. So I'm talking about Hollywood. I've been on Def Comedy Jam. I had a special with Kevin Hart called The Next Level, which I think I have grounds to sue because it's called The Next Level and nothing happened. But anyway, so I got me and Pat connected through Instagram, and now I'm here. And then just off of what you were saying, last week, Pat, you had like a PHP thing at the other office. So he had like, 30, 40 people. I walk in because we want to show the sketch that we did on the video, and I'm hanging out. Pat's up there. He's sitting on the table. He's doing a speech where you were comparing, Pat, greed and fear. And he made a chart with so much shit on it, I almost had a heart attack. I almost threw up. But I just sat there and listened to him for 20 minutes. I almost quit comedy and sat down and started selling fucking insurance.
You can't do that.
I almost started selling insurance because it was like, and again, reading and getting all that knowledge, you fed your brain so much. It's like you could talk to them about anything, and it's like a lesson learned.
Can I add just one metaphor that I think everyone will understand here, because we all know who the person I'm going to talk about is, but it's the freedom to fail. We all know the story of Michael Jordan. In 10th grade, he tried out for the varsity basketball team, and what happened? He got cut. Yeah. So to use your...
What?
Oh, yeah.
You don't know the story about Michael Jordan?
No.
Yeah.
Batya.
I don't know anything about sports ball.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
all
Good,
Don't
have
start. Don't start.
Michael
Bringing
Jordan, the
up
greatest
sports.
basketball player, potentially the greatest athlete of all time. The story goes in Wilmington, North Carolina, he tries out for the basketball team, 10th grade, gets cut. Okay?
Wow.
So again, with the freedom to fail.
And he's very good, right?
Yeah, Michael Jordan turned out to be pretty okay. I don't know if you want to check his
One
resume.
of the greatest hockey players of all time.
More goals than anybody. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Batya.
Exactly.
But to use the analogy or metaphor, I mean, you're the journalist here. I don't know if it's an analogy or metaphor. Either way, he had to go and improve. So rather than make excuses, the coach didn't like me, or the parent comes and talks to the coach, hey, do my kid, everyone wants a medal these days, but it's a trophy culture, whatever it is that these kids have these days. He had to go get better.
Okay.
And it turned out pretty well for the guy.
Okay, but here's
the
my
freedom
question.
the freedom to
Yes.
fail is what inspired him to actually make the team the following year.
Yes. However, is there not a deep tension between what you guys are saying on the one hand about freedom to fail, taking responsibility, you have the power, you have the ability, and on the other hand, this quantitative easing where if you're really, really rich, the government's going to come in and protect you. Like, on the one hand, I see how it's consistent with what you're saying. On the other hand, to a little guy who he doesn't get bailed out when he defaults on his credit card. He doesn't get bailed out when he can't pay his loans. He gets his house taken away. And I think that is something that, Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump totally were in agreement about and totally correct, which is that there is a level at which it is rigged on behalf of the people who have already made on behalf of the rich. You're not going to go to jail for white collar crime because it costs too much to prosecute it, But if you jump the turnstile, you're going, I mean, obviously now progressives don't think you should go away for that.
Exactly.
You can kill people and get away with it now. But, that there's a level at which this idea of accountability adheres like a gazillion % if you're in the bottom and like 0% if you're at the top.
I agree. I actually agree with you. And I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate when politicians get in there and the guys at the top can buy them and you prevent them from going out of business. Let them fail. Let them fail. A great philosopher once said, let the boy watch. He needs to say, let them fail.
I don't know that reference, but I bet it's hilarious.
Do you know that philosopher?
I've heard about it once. Let the boy watch. Will Ferrell.
Let the billionaires fail.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell needs to say,
Well,
let
this
the
is,
billionaires
I don't know if you
fail.
agree with Chamath. You know who Chamath Palihapitiya is, the tech guy, Silicon Valley, Golden State Warriors. The first time that I heard somebody say, fuck them, let them fail, was during COVID when they bailed out the airline businesses. Do you remember all this?
Yeah.
And it was like people, what? Huh? He's coming out and saying this. I mean, he's got his whole SPAC situation going on. People, agree with him, disagree with him. But he basically was like, fuck them, let them fail. And people on CNBC, their minds are all over the. Chamath, what was that article right there? U.S. shouldn't bail out hedge funds, billionaires during COVID pandemic.
This is hedge funds, but there's ones for
there's also airlines. But he was like,
and
fuck them, let them fail. And people on financial media, CNBC, Bloomberg, were like, brains splattered on the wall. What do you mean, let them fail? And he's like, yeah, let them fail. It's essentially what Pat's saying. Stop bailing the big boys out.
Yeah, because if you get in the arena, like, can you imagine, imagine in UFC, it's like, no, you can't hit that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Ali's been the best for a long time. We have to protect him. Give him those points. No, bro, he lost.
It's a fight.
If the greatest of all time fails in front of millions of people and everybody writes about it, let these guys fail a little bit as well. Okay, it's okay. If they don't make it back, no problem. If you do, you do. Did you see this one Bitcoin company? It's called Celsius, right? I don't know if you guys saw this or not. So this company, Celsius, got a valuation of $25 billion. Do you know what's happened to them in the last 6 months in valuation? They went from $25 billion to $167 million.
That's called
This
fail.
guy went from buying the Yankees to now he's being called on the board that he can't buy nothing. He went from being able to go to a restaurant, Nobu, and says, this sushi's awesome. I'm buying this place for $15 million.
Yeah.
That $25 billion down to 167. Guess what this means? Guess what? The market is saying, it's okay. That's what you did. You somehow, some way screwed up. You lost. This happens to everyone. You make a bad investment and the business goes under. You thought it was going to do good. Let them fail. So anyways, I think we've touched on this fail topic plenty of times of where we're at. So do you mind taking a moment? I would want to know some of your, like, the areas of you say you're a Marxist. Specifically, what part of Marxist do you agree with? Because
you'll agree with me about all of them, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna.
I'm curious. I'm really curious.
I'm really happy you went here. Yeah.
But I really want to hear about your parents getting divorced and then remarried and then divorced and remarried. Was that about ideology, like about the imperialism and the communism?
Let me tell you. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? My sister's Christian. My brother-in-law, he's a Baha'i. He was a Baha'i, and now he's a Christian as well.
What are you? Are you religious?
I'm a Christian myself, yeah. But he was a Baha'i. She was a Christian. They got married. Politically, they're on the same page. They're happily married. Celebrating, I think, 19 or 20 years of marriage of where they're at right now. They got two beautiful kids, Grace and Sean. Love these guys. My mom and dad, they're both Christians. Okay, so religious on the same page. Politically, complete opposite page. World War III would have gotten started because of these two guys. They should have never gotten married because politically, they're on opposite. This is why I respect Kellyanne Conway and George Conway.
Yeah,
the way they do it. Let me tell you, man. Shout out to you. My parents couldn't do it. They pulled off, figured out a way to do it. Yeah,
we'll
so,
see. Time will tell if they stay together.
It's that's kind of what happened for them. They shouldn't have gotten married. I'm kind of glad they did, and I'm kind of glad they got married the second time around because that's why I'm here.
You were in the second time?
I was like, let's try to make it work. Let's make a baby. Then comes Patrick. I'm like, shit, this didn't work. Let's get a divorce.
Wow. So see, Patrick, that's a great example of failure. They came back, and now it's you. Right?
Freedom to fail.
What an analogy,
Freedom to fail.
Man.
Pat is here because
guys, this is why we pay Vinny the big bucks right here to bring it all together.
Donate to my GoFundMe for my rent. But Pat, is that an example?
Of course.
They failed.
Yeah.
They said, you know what? We're going to try again. They made this freaking amazing guy. And now that's it. We're over here.
Listen,
we're over here.
Please. You know, if the social media was around when I was sinning, you wouldn't say this great guy. Because when social media was around, I was a professional, you know, till today. But at that time, it was like trying to compete as the ultimate. 20-some years ago.
Yeah.
Thank God for all the Silicon Valley folks to not have invented, you know, Snapchat, Instagram,
back when we were
TikTok,
like younger.
all of those guys.
Forget it.
I'm so grateful for that.
Totally.
Yeah. So go ahead. So tell us.
Oh, yeah.
Marxism.
Okay, let me start with the things I don't agree with.
Okay.
I don't think that work is like inherently oppression. You know, he really thought that. It was like that labor was oppression. I don't think that. I think there's dignity in labor. And I don't think you can get self-esteem from something somebody gives you. Like, you can only get it by working for it. And so I totally don't disagree with Marx on that. I disagree that the only thing between people is power. He was sort of like, he got that from Hegel, but like that idea that like we should replace a worldview based on right versus wrong with a worldview based on who has power and who doesn't, or that anybody who employs someone is, you know, in a relationship that's oppressive. I don't believe in any of that. You know, obviously I don't believe in what he thought about religion. I think that religion's really, really important to a functioning society.
How do you mean by religion? What was his view on religion? You're saying Karl Marx here.
Let her go through it. Let her go through it, and then we'll come
anti-religion.
Like he was like a materialistic, you know, he was materialism.
Yeah, I don't believe in any of that.
And an atheist type of deal.
And I'm very against like critical race theory, which is they took the Marxist, you know, it was really a Hegelian binary and they applied it to race and said, okay, that power binary, right, that Marx thought was like between like the bourgeoisie, the boss, and then the laborer, right, where the only thing between those two was a power imbalance and oppression. In critical race theory, they say you have white people and people of color, and it's that same thing, right? Like white people have all the power and their only relationship with people of color is oppressive. I think that's all disgusting and terrible and gross and wrong and what the worst people to ever walk planet Earth believed. So I don't believe any of that. But I would like to say that like the problem with critical race theory is the insufficiency of Marxism. Not that it's Marxist, because what I mean by that is, to me, what Marx got right, I don't know if it was true for his moment, but in our moment right now, fundamentally, the divide in America is not about politics and it's not about race, it's about class. We have a huge class divide in America that separates the college educated, you know, from the working class. Like that is the fundamental reality of American life. If you have a college degree, you will make on average $1 million more over the course of your lifetime than if you don't. You will have better health, you will live longer, and your children will be upwardly mobile. You will have access to the American dream. And if you don't, increasingly you won't. Increasingly you will die sooner, your body will break down earlier, you'll face deaths of despair. I mean, it's bad, right? And you will not have access to the American dream. Increasingly, you won't be able to buy a home. You won't be able to access that next level. So that divide, like I'm seeing that through seeing it through a class analysis, using the lens of class to understand the real struggles in America. That to me is Marxist. But the reason I say I think you would agree with me is I noticed something during COVID, which was that the people who opposed the lockdowns, they were doing it because, yes, there was the freedom thing, yes. But that wasn't the thing that motivated the emotional response on the right to these authoritarian lockdowns. What motivated the emotional response was what motivated me, which was the disgust with allowing yourself, because of your financial security, to rise so far above the people you relied on to survive, meaning we're going to enforce a lockdown because we can work from home.
Right.
So we're going to keep making our money and protect ourselves from the plague, but we're going to force you to go out into the plague and stock those shelves and bring those packages and bring us that food. And we're going to then tell you how to live your life. So there's going to be nothing out there for you to do except labor for us, right? Except deliver our packages, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to be open for you. You're going to have to brave the plague and go out into the danger so we can protect ourselves. And then they misunderstood what was essentially their economic privilege, right, of being able to work from home as virtue. They thought they were more virtuous because they were staying home, right? So they took this thing that was a class divide where they really were in such a better situation than the people who they relied on to work and keep them alive. And then they wanted to keep that they made that distinction even bigger and bigger and bigger and kept pushing for policy to make that distinction even greater and greater and greater. And what I saw on the right was a Marxist disgust with the bourgeoisie, with these educated elites, for creating a situation that benefited them. Suddenly their houses were worth so much more, right? But then the kicker was, as soon as they had a vaccine, they were like, oh, now you have to take it or you get fired, right? Like it was so disgusting. And I think that disgust is I would call that Marxist in nature. It is a disgust with a class divide that one side is sitting there benefiting from and then stewing in its own sort of moral virtue while oppressing other people. Like that's a Marxist analysis of COVID. And I bet you would agree with my analysis.
Did you read Karl Marx's book or Carlito Marx? Because none of that is.
Yeah.
So for
I'm about
me,
to sign up for whatever she's
is
talking
there like
about.
a new? This is Carl's cousin or brother that we forgot about, Carlito.
You got to give her some credit though.
That's amazing.
Because the college educated remote worker lifestyle, WFH, work from anywhere, work from home. I'm living in Tulum now. I'm moving to Miami.
Yeah.
But I gotta say something.
That's what she's saying is very accurate. Versus, hey, go deliver my groceries. Go do DoorDash.
I don't think that's Marxism.
That has nothing to do with Marxism.
Okay, lower Adam by 5%, please. That's not Marxism.
What would you call it?
That's not. A lot of those are libertarian philosophies that you have. Where leave people alone and stop forcing shit down my let me live my life and get the hell out of my way and stop thinking you're so much more special than me because you got a degree and I don't. That's not Marxism. A part of Marx was he felt there was people that were better to be put in charge to lead others rather than, he was the one that thought most of the people were dumb. That's Marx's idea, was more from the standpoint of there is us who are more educated than you and we know what's right for you to live, and you don't believe in that. That's not your approach. So a lot of the Marxists, I've interviewed probably more communists on a YouTube channel than anybody has done on YouTube. I like talking to communists because, it's a great conversation to have. But let me give you an idea about what I noticed during COVID.
Yeah.
You know what's one of the worst things that happened to COVID? Which political party you think lost during COVID?
Well, so something that I like to say is, I'm going to get canceled for saying this, but I am going to get canceled for saying this, but I think for a long time, reality had a liberal bias. Like, it was the liberals who were pushing equality for blacks. It was the liberals who were pushing equality for gays, things that we all now agree are like commonsensical, right? Like that every human deserves to live in dignity. But I think over the last 5 years, the last 3 years, the last 2 years, and certainly over COVID, with the school lockdowns, with the endless lockdowns, with the this oppression of the working class, I really think that reality has sort of started to take on a bit of a conservative bias. Like, it does seem to me that the right, increasingly on questions that matter very much to the American people, like the right to have a say over their children's education, their children's life, their right to bodily autonomy, their right to live in dignity, their right to the American dream. A lot of these things, I think, increasingly you hear conservatives speaking to where most Americans are at and representing a reality that the left has really sort of left in the dust.
Yeah. I agree. I agree that and by the way, some of the folks that maybe are listening to you that are more your side politically are kind of sitting there saying, well, you can't say that because if we do, we may lose something. Didn't you just see the stat that 1 million people switched from Democrat to Republican? The story just came out 2 weeks ago. You're helping that even more. But I would say this, the political party that lost during COVID, they initially won. It's kind of like a basketball game when they come and say, hey, the Celtics are up 28 points in the first quarter. The Celtics lost by 17 points to the Golden State Warriors. So the Democrats started off with a big lead in the first half. Oh, my God. Look at you. Freaking Republicans. And then fourth quarter came around. What the hell were these guys doing? It unfortunately, a part of COVID was awesome for America to see. I'm not talking the loss of loved ones, any of that. I'm talking a part of COVID was it revealed what the motive really was for the people on the left.
Big time.
It revealed.
Ooh, and what do you think that motive was?
Control. I know what's right for you. Last night, shout out to Elena who works here. Do you know where the concept of Build Back Better came out of?
The World Economic Forum?
Yeah, so the World Economic Forum is the original Build Back Better. If you ever... Do you have the link to this? I'm going to show this.
It's our friend Klaus Schwab.
That was a scary...
Yeah, so I'm gonna send this to you. I want you to pull this up and just take a look at this article on World Economic Forum and look at what the date is. Okay, that's what's concerning. When was the election, by the way? When was the election?
November
of what
20.
year? Okay,
20.
So I want you to look at this article, Tyler. Pull this article up that I just sent you. Pull this article up and look at the date. It's kind of weird. I'm not. I think if you're watching this, folks, I think you need to dig into this for your own self and do a little bit of research. Spend 30 minutes on this and play around and see what you figure out.
And Pat, the World Forum, is it just a bunch of people, rich elites that are just gathering, talking about what's good for us and what's not good for us? I know some of them were talking about how you shouldn't own anything.
They want the new world order.
That's what
they
it
want
is.
it to become. Okay, so watch this. What is the date?
July of
Make it a
20.
little bit smaller so they see the logo at the top and they know what the link is. What's the logo at the top? If you can zoom in.
World Economic Forum.
Can they see it right there? Zoom in a little bit on the logo all the way at the top of the website. It says World Economic Forum. If you look at the link, it's the World Economic Forum website.org. Look at the date. July 13, 2020.
Oh my God, I feel like I need a tinfoil hat.
What the hell is going on? To
And
build
this-
back better, we must reinvent capitalism. And then Biden, without even holding anything back, comes and they call it the Build Back Better. The pandemic has brought us the focus of vulnerabilities in our systems and institutions, but it also offers us a chance to shape a more resilient and sustainable world. Here's how businesses and policymakers can start building the green and inclusive future we need. Thanks to an ongoing pandemic, the world is off balance and it will remain so far for years to come. Far from settling into a new normal, we should expect the COVID-19 domino effect, triggering further disruptions, positive as well as negative, over the decade ahead. Okay, so if you keep going lower and lower, there's a part that they talk about a few different things. Okay, go lower, that's the part. So right there, the world's largest shipping company is setting up a research center to decarbonize the industry. The great reset after COVID-19 must put people first. Yeah, right. Four-way stakeholder capitalism can create a more resilient post-COVID MENA region. So I don't know. Like think about it from this standpoint. Imagine if 30 years from now, a person goes up and runs for office, and their campaign is called "Make America Great Again." 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be 73. What's the first thing we're going to be thinking about?
Trump. You guys took
like,
that.
wait,
You stole that.
What?
Heard it already.
Make America Great Again was from a guy named Trump. You know what? The billionaire? Yeah, you guys weren't with that guy?
Yeah.
Make America Great Again. So imagine if you take a campaign from somebody in Germany on what his campaign was, and it's the identical. And you're not even changing it a little bit. Grow back better, like verbatim. We need to build back better to reset. A true recovery from COVID-19 will not be about putting things back together the way they were. We need to build back better to reset. This is why so many people are writing a book called The Great Reset. I think Beck wrote a book. I think a couple other people just wrote a book titled...
This is their motto. It's The Great Reset. You'll own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, and
that's what it was.
So I don't know. So for me, during COVID, what it did is we really figured out what your motives were. Like, okay, cool. That's what your motive is? No problem. The moment I know and you know someone's motive, like when a woman goes on a date with a guy and he straight up says, look, just got out of an ugly divorce. I have no desire to have a girlfriend. But if you want to have fun, let's go to my place, have fun. I'll come to your place if you just want to have fun. So guess what advantage you have now? Now you know my what? Motive. So you can decide what to do with that motive. So now you have to make a decision that's what? You either are going to say, between us, let's go chill. I'm cool. Okay? Or you may say, yeah, I've actually been out of a relationship for a couple of years and it was a bad one, but I'm ready to get into a relationship and I actually want somebody that I can have a serious relationship with. I've had too many of these Tinder stuff the last couple of years. I'm done. I kind of want to have somebody serious. Now I know your motive. Our motives don't match, but you know mine and I know yours. Great. The Democrats, some of them on the left, kept their motives. Now we know their motives. And it's a beautiful thing because it's very hard to go back. This is why a lot of people who were Democrats, who were registered Democrats saying, I'm sorry, bro, I'm not with that, dog. I'm okay. You're there. I'm not with you. You can't log on to Instagram for whatever reason it doesn't allow us. Just go to World Star. I'd love to see the demographics. I follow World Star, like, and sometimes the challenge about following the World Star when you're married is sometimes I'm going through Instagram and some girls naked doing twerking. My boss like, what do you want? I'm like, babe, I just follow World Star. Don't blame me, blame World Star. But if you go on World Star, a story came out. They posted a picture recently. I wish I can just show this to you. Oh, here it is. They posted this. Okay.
What is it?
Is it the POTUS tweet?
Yeah, the POTUS tweet. Can you just put this up? And I love the question they posed, okay, on World Star. Very simple. They posed the question. First of all, they put the tweet from the president. You can zoom in. Gas prices have been dropping for 34 straight days, about 50 cents a gallon. That saves the average driver about $25 a month. I know those extra dollars and cents mean something. It's breathing room. And we're not done working to get prices even lower. Okay. He tweets this. World Star puts it up, and look what they put. Are the gas prices going down in your city? I dare you to go down all the comments people left and find one that supports what President Biden said.
Where are they dropping, though?
No. You just have to see it's comedy if you watch what people are saying. You're full of shit. I'm so sick of it. Da. People are not holding back. So a lot of people are sitting there saying, dude, by the way, you know what a lot of them were saying? We need Trump back.
Yeah.
We need Trump back. This is not like a Breitbart website.
No.
This is not Turning Point USA.
No, this is World Star.
Not Daily Wire. Yeah. This is
World Star.
World Star.
Yeah.
Okay, this is World Star. So COVID revealed a lot, and those people who are not lazy, who are willing to think for themselves, are sitting there saying, listen, man, this ain't working out. Okay. At the top of my priorities for me to have my economy be okay, my personal life, so I can take care of my wife, my husband, my kids, my family, and I can't do it right now. This shit is too much, and they're getting sick of the game. So I think COVID was very good to reveal motives of both political parties, and people learned a lot. Look at what happened to Bill Maher. Bill Maher blew up.
Yep.
Okay, he blew up.
Bill Maher sounds like Bill Maher sounds like a conservative, like he would vote for Trump. I know I'm joking, but he sounds completely everything that he was preaching 2 years ago. He's completely flipped. He doesn't like anything that's happening.
I want to read a super chat real quick because it's about you. It's from DL Saint. I really want to know podcast. $20. Vinny is one of the funniest comics in the game. He's put in the work. A true G. Keep doing you, Vinny. I love it. That's a shout out for you. Yeah,
we did it.
We did it. We have another one here. Andrew Hugh, who said World Economic Forum event 230 was COVID-19 role play. The WEF are behind it all, and Biden, Macron, Trudeau, Johnson, and all leaders who are controlled by the WEF. Look at the WEF Agenda 2030 and ESG scores. You may want to go do research for yourself. I'm not going to get into it, but I suggest you may want to look into Scott Rodriguez. This is for Vinny. Ha, ha, ha. Anyways, okay. People are loving Vinny.
And Pat, not to cut you off. So, and I was watching. So you took notes like a professional. Like and Pat, you have notes. And Adam, stay in school and read books. Look at this is my Quantitative Easing, tightening government money, the Great Reset.
That's me. You did the turkey with your hand.
I did the turkey with the hand, and then that's me. And I'm just not. So
the opposable thumb.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
You guys mind if we spend the last 40 minutes going into some issues and getting some thoughts on issues?
Let's do it.
Let's go into some of these issues here. Okay. So let's go through New York Times, July 11th. So this is a recent story. Most Democrats don't want Biden in 2024. New poll shows. Okay. President Biden is facing an alarming level of doubt from inside his own party, with 64% of Democratic voters saying they would prefer a new standard bearer in the 2024 presidential campaign, according to New York Times Siena College poll, as voters nationwide have soured on his leadership, giving him a meager 33% job approval rating. Widespread concerns about the economy and inflation have helped turn the national mood decidedly dark, both on Mr. Biden and the trajectory of the nation. More than 3/4 of registered voters see the United States moving in the wrong direction, a pervasive sense of pessimism that spans every corner of the country, every age range and racial group, cities, suburbs, and rural areas, as well as both political parties. Only 13% of American voters said the nation was on the right track, the lowest point in Times polling since the depth of the financial crisis more than a decade ago. What do you think about this when you hear this story from New York Times?
Well, I mean, sometimes they actually get the story right, the New York Times. You might disagree with that, but the number one thing that Republicans, well, the Democrats should be hoping for in 2024 is that Trump runs. Because the only way the Democrats can still win in 2024 is if it's Trump. You might be saying, what the hell are you talking about right now? Because if a DeSantis runs or someone with mass appeal, it's a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. But if Trump gets back in there and starts mudslinging again, I don't think the people on the right fully understand, you might have a good grasp of this, just how much, even if it's against their own pocketbook and against their own interests, how nails on a chalkboard he is to their ears. Again, it might be counterintuitive. Well, he was better for us. Trump gets on screen, gets on TV, and Democrats have a meltdown. I'm willing to bet that at one point you had Trump derangement syndrome. Did you not?
I did, yeah.
Okay. And half of America did.
Pretty bad, though. I mean, we had to. I mean,
yeah,
this guy,
yeah.
we had to
I went to rehab for a couple years.
The Trump hab.
Luckily, they were very gorgeous women, and things are okay now. I'm a little more reasonable. But you fully understand just how much people on the left really, really can't stomach Trump. It's a guttural, nails on a chalkboard. When he gets America, and people are just like, you understand fully. So for me, I'm putting this out there. I've never voted for a Republican for president in my life. I will gladly take a Ron DeSantis or someone who has those conservative agendas, just because I think I had a conversation with a very high up Democratic fundraiser here on the DNC side. One of my best friends, I was like, you understand how fucked up the Democrats are doing these days? He's like, yeah, I'm totally with you. And I said, the Democrats are praying that Trump is the candidate in 2024.
Stop.
100%.
Stop.
Because DeSantis.
Oh my God.
DeSantis
you really believe that bullshit?
10,000%.
You really
Pat.
believe that?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yes.
so let me ask you a
Because
question.
you can stomach Trump, so you don't
It's
understand
not
what I'm saying.
Because I can set aside my emotions, homeboy.
And you're one of 2% of the people that can
And
do
you
that.
don't need everybody, and more of America needs to learn to be like her and sit down and have a
She
conversation.
had Trump derangement syndrome.
She's gotten over it.
But
I got over it.
But
How many other people have gotten over it?
But no. But by the way, a lot of people have gone over it. A lot of people have gone over it. Yeah. But you, selective hearing, want to believe that. Let me explain to you something for you to be thinking about. Okay. Let's take your argument of they want Trump to run. Oh, really? Yeah. If they really wanted Trump to run, you wouldn't see shit with January 6th hearing. Zero. If they really wanted Trump to run, you wouldn't see an article coming out saying Iran is trying to assassinate President Trump. Oh my God, because the Democrats want him to run. If Democrats wanted Trump to run, they would sit down, Nancy Pelosi, say, guys, enough with January. Let this guy run. He's going to lose. Let this guy run. He's going to lose. Do you see Republicans worried about Hillary Clinton running? Republicans are hoping Hillary Clinton running. They're not even getting in her way. Have you heard Republicans talking shit about Hillary? Because they're hoping. That's how you know. Anytime they go after somebody, they're afraid that guy's going to run, and you're smart enough and wise enough to know the difference. But selective hearing gets you to say, well, because the Democrats are hoping he runs.
No, I'm not.
But you have to
You're
be better
taking
than
half
that.
of my argument, Pat.
No. You have to be better than that.
I'm saying, do they want Trump?
Yeah.
Hell no. Are they rooting for Trump?
Yeah.
Hell no. But they're looking at the field. They're saying, if Biden is the guy, which I don't think he will be, who do we have a better chance against? Young, vibrant Ron DeSantis.
You have to be wiser than that strategic
Are you
than
kidding
the comment
me?
you just made.
You don't think that Ron DeSantis has a better chance of beating a Democrat than Trump?
I think Ron Burgundy has a better chance of beating anybody on the left right now. It doesn't matter who it is. The point I'm trying to make to you is just think about the logic of what you're saying right now. Okay? You know the saying is Sun Tzu says, if an enemy is falling, don't get in his way. Get out of his way. Let him fall. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's strategic. No problem. If they're really afraid of Trump falling, why do they keep getting in his way? They're afraid. They're afraid of this guy. Whether it's true or not, it's here. I don't think Trump's strategy going after Musk and doing all this. I don't. You heard what I said on the guy. A couple people on Twitter came after me saying, "What happened to you? You had our back and you were Trump." I said, "I've never been a Trump, an anti-Trump, a pro this. I've been a economy guy with policies that allows us to be left alone. And the same people that were so ecstatic about this guy who's going to become a president to unify America is the reason why we're experiencing what we're experiencing right now. So I understand the idea of protecting your vote because it sucks when you lose. I understand it. To have to protect it. I still made the right decision because I would have never voted. I get it. The ego is a hard thing. We all have it. Totally understand that. But the premise behind the fact that, the Democrats are hoping for, get over it, that point.
Pat, let me just, my last point.
Go ahead.
Pat, and I want to get your opinion
There
on
we
this.
go. Respectfully, I disagree. Go
No,
ahead.
I'm not saying, I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't. How disgusted.
I understand
half of
strategy.
No. Hear me
Yeah.
out. How disgusted half of America feels when they see him speak. I don't think you fully get that.
I run an insurance company with 27,000 agents in 49 states who talk to these people every day. I don't think you understand that I'm around these guys constantly from every state. And you're only in Florida. I'm in every state.
Okay, I'm not. But
So what I'm trying to tell you is I hear last week we're doing something at the office and I said Hillary Clinton is a sweetheart. One of the ladies said she is a sweetheart. So I'm in the street talking. I know I have to be there. I have to win the guys' vote, or else you don't have a business that you're growing. America's bigger than New York City. America's bigger than Miami. Okay, America is America. You got 50 states you're dealing with, and a lot of them. It doesn't need to be 100% of them. It just needs to be 5 to 10% of them disagree with you.
it's 10,000 people in the Midwest. That's who controls our country.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And they're sick of it.
True.
Not Adam. By the way, whether you're going to do what you got to do. A lot of people are very protective of who they voted because they hate being wrong.
Dude, I'm not. It's 0% about me. I'm talking about 50% of the country that when Trump speaks, it's nails on a chalkboard to them. Who gives a fuck who I voted for?
Because when Joe Biden speaks, it's freaking awesome.
No, they go to sleep.
Because when he speaks,
they go to sleep.
I want to get up and go.
Yeah.
You've had Trump derangement syndrome. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
But Adam, and just to really fast to defend. Sorry to cut you off, but I think the reason that, Pat, they're doing the January 6th talk, and they do just so that if he does, they can just say threat to democracy. They can use those pockets because I'm kind of with Adam in the sense that. A question to you guys all: do you think DeSantis would win over Trump if they're both running?
That's a different conversation.
But I'm saying who would, because the left is going to have a field day with threat to democracy. They're going to still talk about Russia. They're going to bring in all the other old shit that they're going to jam it on there. They have nothing to really talk about.
The right strategy, if you're not intimidated of somebody and you want that person to run, get the hell out of their way.
Yeah.
That's strategy. Okay? Get out of there. Let them keep talking shit about you. You know, how many times have you heard me on camera talk shit about former colleagues or people that we did business with? How many times have you heard me?
Zero.
How many times? Because it's not my style. No, I don't do it.
I agree.
Even if they do, and they do it all the time, you don't see me getting up there. It's not my style. Nope. Okay? Because the market then gets to decide, listen, you know, the only story I ever the other is Pat doesn't even get up and takes all the shit. No problem. Because eventually the market's going to sit there and say, damn. Okay, I didn't know that. No problem.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of the way. Let the market decide. Because you're not worried about it. They're so worried about Trump.
I agree.
If you're not, let them loose.
But,
please, I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I was going to ask you, who would you like to see running in 2024 on both sides, in each party? Like, who would you pick if you could pick
not
for each
Trump
party?
and not Biden? I think it's time for I would take a DeSantis and whoever the left kind of plucks out of thin air.
Yeah, who would you?
I mean,
I've been saying this for 5 fucking years. Joe Manchin is America.
He ain't running.
Totally.
He's definitely.
I've been saying, like, who told you about Joe Manchin 3 years ago?
How many times do I have to give you
Exactly.
credit for
Okay, thank you. But I'm saying, like, any Democrat, I'm a person, no matter what. If you watch the show that I do on this side of the room, I'm the type of person who sits down with this type of person with this type of philosophy and an exact different type of philosophy. And I say, guys, let's figure something out. Let's see how we could all work together. Because more than a Republican or Democrat, I'm an American. I travel the world. I don't like going around the world and being like, stupid American. I'm like, I'm a fucking American. We up in this thing.
Yeah.
I like when America has a good stature in the world and that you can be proud to be an American. And over the last, whether it's Biden or Trump, it's not exactly America's got a good reputation throughout the world. So I would love to have someone, whoever it is, that has a 60% approval rating in America. And it's not Biden and it's not Trump. I'm sorry. So there you go.
It's very interesting.
How about yourself?
Well, I mean, I think the debate you guys are having is so fascinating. Something I've noticed is that, which it's kind of could be support for either side, Democrats who don't understand the extent to which Republicans right now are ambivalent about Trump, especially with the specter of DeSantis rising. They, in their mind, because they have created out of Trump this kind of bogeyman who's so all-encompassing, they cannot see the polling that's showing that DeSantis is already neck and neck with him, and they haven't even declared. And I know a lot of Democrats who would vote for DeSantis. I think he has about 60% approval here in the state,
and
right?
this is my entire point of everything we've been talking about.
So I think that the Democrats have a real blindness when it comes to what's happening on the Republican side. So, I think actually maybe that does support Pat's point a little bit, that they don't think they can run against him. I think they're doing January 6th because they are convinced he would beat Biden, and I think they're wrong about that. I agree with you. I don't think Biden's going to run. Mm-hmm. But I cannot see how with these numbers DeSantis doesn't blow Trump out of the water. And I think to the extent that Trump doesn't like to lose, it's possible he doesn't even run if DeSantis can get up past 35, 40%, 50%, right? And people are Trump's down in the 30s. I just think that it's, I'm shocked to see how, not surprised, but it is astounding to see how.
Are the numbers you're quoting, like there's a difference between a Republican primary and a national electorate, right?
Well, so now when you
DeSantis
poll Republicans.
has a much better broad appeal to Americans than Trump does. But I don't know what the Republican base looks for. Okay.
In polls of Republican primary voters, they're now neck and neck. And no one's declared it. I mean, the idea that DeSantis has such a national profile to compete with a former president
is crazy.
It's crazy, and I think it speaks volumes to how he's governed, which is he's.
And why do you think Republicans feel that way about DeSantis when they've been so all about Trump for the past 5 years?
I do think this January 6 hearings have hurt him. I do think that, and I think more than that, he's hurt himself. You know, Trump, if you really watched,
I agree with that.
If you watched his speeches, you watched his rallies. In 2016, in 2020, he talked over and over and over again about NAFTA, about jobs, about the economy. And of course, he'd throw in, the red meat for the press, actually, some, quasi-racist comments so that they'd make sure that the press would cover it, because they would only cover it if he did that, right? But he was talking about the economy and jobs. He was saying to the working class, they have stolen everything from you. Now, since 2020, all he talks about is himself. They've stolen everything from me.
Okay.
That is the
Jackpot.
difference.
Yeah.
And that's very, very unattractive. Okay?
Totally.
It's very unattractive. And somebody behind closed doors has to give him the feedback to realize people don't like that approach. Okay?
Who's that person, though?
Let people tell you. Let other people say you're doing a great job. You shouldn't constantly brag about you. Every once in a while, it's okay to be self-promotion, shameless, all that stuff. Believe me, there's a lot of guys on Instagram and Twitter, TikTok that are blowing up because they're great at shameless self-promotion. Fine. It's a little bit of that is necessary. We know who some of these guys are. But he's at a point right now that he may be losing certain people as well. My argument wasn't about that you're wrong. My argument is the fact that your premise of Democrats are hoping for him to run is wrong. They're not hoping for him to run in, because if they did, they wouldn't have done what they're doing now.
Can I just qualify my point?
Yeah.
They're hoping that it's him as the candidate
Over DeSantis. Okay.
I agree with that.
What are they going to say about DeSantis?
Nothing.
Okay,
Nothing.
He doesn't like saying the word gay.
Check this out.
Okay.
This is from
They
Vegas.
get so much ammo against Trump.
This is VegasInsider.com. 2024 election betting odds. Trump's at the top, plus 275. Then it's DeSantis. Guys, that is very close.
Yep.
Yeah.
For betting.
Very close.
Yeah.
Biden 550. I cannot believe Kamala is fourth.
even up
Honestly,
there.
I can't believe she's fourth.
Crazy.
I don't think she stands a chance.
Zero.
Pence, then Buttigieg, then Haley, then Michelle Obama, then Warren, then Tucker, and the rest of the folks.
Tucker's
on
up
that.
By the way, in that, I just want to get your opinion because I'll give you my answer. In that, what is the most interesting storyline?
Oh, that's
Michelle
a great
Obama?
question. I do just want to say one thing on the previous point. To me, it is tragic what Trump is doing now because his legacy is so strong. I think even somebody on the left can say, like, the things he did for the country before the pandemic, there was so much there to run on, to brag about, and he's squandered the whole thing over this nonsense, and I find that to be a little bit tragic. You're giving me side eye because you're like, what did he do for this car?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
you have to be very careful in life. Okay, very careful. I've had a lot of enemies over the years. I had a lunch a few weeks ago with one of my biggest enemies in business. Okay. And we had lunch, and we sat down. It was an incredible lunch we had together, okay? Fastened to the point where at the end, the hug was like a brotherly hug. And listen, we wanted to kill each other, okay?
this is one of your enemies, you're saying.
You don't need to go any deeper than that because, so this is somebody that's an enemy in business, okay? You have to be very careful to not hate or be envious. And you have to be able to logically give credit where credit's due, even if I'm not a LeBron James fan at all. I give him tremendous credit, what he did, with all the odds being against him to become who he is today, as a father, as a leader to his family. Tremendous credit. I don't agree with what he's saying, even saying to Griner, if I was her, I don't know if I'd come back to America. All the stuff that he does, I don't support any of that. I think it's too much bitching. But I support the fact that he's done what he's done. So you got to be careful because for somebody to become a billionaire, win on TV, and to become a president, name me one person that's done that, including Reagan. He's never done that. So his legacy, he's one of a kind. Just so you may, he's going to be one of the most controversial, most written about figures in the history of America, but he's one of a kind. Only one person ever has become a billionaire, one on TV, and become a president. Only one person's ever done that. Not 50. He ain't 1 in 5. He's in 1 of 1. Okay? Hate him, love him, trash him, do whatever you can. Name me one other person that's done that. You can't do that. So, but if you look at this list, I would love to do a fundraiser at my house. I would do it for number 1. I would do it for number 2. I don't think 3 and 4 running. I would do a fundraiser for number 6, Pete. I would do a fundraiser for Obama.
Wait, you do Pete but not Pence?
Pence, fine. I just don't think Pence has a chance.
Okay.
I just don't think Pence has a chance. I think Pete could have a chance. I think Michelle definitely. I don't think, is that Warren? I think Bernie's too old. I think I would do a fundraiser and bring people to ask real questions. I've been part of these fundraisers before, and it's not like, hey, what's up? Can we take a picture? It's not like, hey, can I get a picture to post on Instagram? No, it's like, hey, so tell me, what do you think about this stuff? Why are you doing this? Like, how do you handle a situation? Like, I want to be able to ask Pete a couple questions. I want to be able to ask Michelle a couple questions, and where she's at. Because there's a difference between Michelle and Barack in 2004, one-term senators who are broke, to Michelle and Barack Obama today who are worth a few $100 million. There's a different perspective for business. So I'd love to speak to Michelle about that and see, hey, let's do a fundraiser and ask some questions, and I'll bring some people that are from both sides of the aisle, and we'll raise whatever the amount is, $25 a head, $25,000. I don't know what their dollar amount is, but I would love to do that, to see both sides of the aisle, okay, to do that. So for me, it's not I'm a Trump guy, I'm a DeSantis guy, I'm a, who's your guy, Manchin. Yesterday I tweeted something about Manchin, and I said yesterday about Manchin, I said, Joe Manchin, I got to read this to you because it's so ironic that you're talking about him today, and this was my tweet yesterday. I said, Joe Manchin, someone give Joe Manchin a Medal of Honor, okay? I think at the end of the day, this guy's going to get a lot more credit to have kept America together because shit could be a lot worse if there was not a Manchin today. But that's the odds.
But Pat, I think you're the exception, and I don't do this often, but I'm going to give credit to Adam here. American politics, the presidential race, is very much a popularity contest. That's all it is. People don't care about policies. You go ask the average American what policies of Trump they like, they can't give you an answer. And what I think is very interesting here is that nowhere on this list is Gavin Newsom. I think it's fairly obvious Gavin Newsom's going to be the candidate.
Yeah,
I think that's who they want. I think that's who they're going to push. I think that's who they're going to have.
Yeah.
People don't like Kamala. People think Pete's a joke.
Tulsi Gabbard's
Elizabeth Warren I think people see through her. Bernie, the party won't let Bernie win. I think it's obvious Newsom's going to be the candidate. Donald Trump cannot beat Gavin Newsom.
Andrew Cuomo's up there?
You don't think Trump can beat Gavin
Absolutely
Newsom?
not. Absolutely not. I think people aren't going to care about what happened in California. I think people are going to look at Gavin Newsom purely on his looks and the way he speaks. I do not think...
Scroll down, see his odds.
Yeah,
I don't think people care about politics.
Did you see the video of him
How's he
walking
not
on
even
the
on
White
this
House
list?
lawn with
He's
no
not on
jacket?
this
He just
list.
had his
That's
white shirt.
crazy.
They're
And he's
pushing him,
making
bro.
his rounds on the media. All the
He's
media
the
is saying...
Justin Trudeau
He
of
won't do
America.
well because
Gavin
he
Newsom is the Justin
Totally.
Trudeau of America.
By the way,
If you don't think he can get it,
I think Adam just nailed it.
Oh no, but
Gavin
in a
Newsom
bad
is the
way.
Justin Trudeau of America.
Yeah.
he's the. You saw what Joe
but do you think he
Rogan
can
just
win?
had to say.
Totally.
I think he won the
Telling you,
nomination.
any of these
Against
guys
Donald
can beat Trump.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
so.
telling you.
And Adam's right. The left's biggest fear is that Ron DeSantis runs. That is
I
their
agree.
biggest fear. I think you make a good point with
Trump will
January
have-
6th.
You guys are-
By the way,
But-
scroll up for a little bit. This is the storyline that I wanted to
think
bring.
you are right, but I don't think the left realizes it. That's what I think is somewhere between the two of you. You're right that they should want Trump to win, but they don't realize it because Orange Man bad. Like they can't. They're
Yes.
not. They can't. They're still deranged.
It's so
and so they
hard
don't even
to hate
realize.
someone for that
called
long
lazy.
and then be like, sure,
Goes
I'll
back
vote
to the
for
first 10 minutes of the podcast.
But by the
Pat,
way,
remember, you're an exception. Most people aren't going to do the research.
But
Most people
be
aren't going to put in the
careful
work to
taking
learn.
that angle, guys. Be careful taking that angle, because if you take that angle, what you're trying to say is the American voter is lazy. That's what you're saying.
I don't.
we
very
discussed that at the
careful.
beginning.
Lazy or distracted.
Be,
We
be
discussed that
very
all the
careful,
way up.
because if Tyler's saying that's his position,
way.
the other way, all the way to the top. Yeah. So you're saying the
Okay.
American voter is lazy.
We discussed this at the beginning, but by the way, you know who is very interesting because he's just been kind of quiet,
Who?
but he's gonna be there and he's not scared. Is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $1,600. That is Mike Pence.
Oh, Pence?
If you see what's going on,
He's going after Trump.
there are
Yeah.
what is it called? Like what they're doing when you like fight a war, but you're
Proxy battle.
war.
Ah.
So right now they're having a proxy war
Yeah.
in the state of Wyoming.
Totally.
Mike Pence is supporting Liz Cheney,
Yep.
January 6th insurrection committee, and Donald Trump is supporting the lady who kind of looks like a dude, in my opinion.
She's in the lead. The lady's
in the lead, big time. And they're fighting these proxy wars. They did the same thing in Georgia, where Pence supported the governor who ended up winning, and Trump supported his Trump and Pence.
Yeah.
They got some serious beef going on.
Oh, big time.
And Pence was...
If this was a movie, there would be like, you know what I mean? The confrontation.
And Pence was the greatest bootlicker of all time.
Big time.
Trump could do no wrong. And then on January 6th, when he almost got hung, he hung him out to dry, and now Pence wants a little reward.
I was on Rubin podcast a couple of days ago. Shout out to Dave Rubin when you guys go play your basketball.
Dave Rubin, when are we playing ball?
There, but I was on his podcast, and he said, so, what would be like a creative candidate mix? I said, DeSantis, Ivanka, Trump would be very interesting. Okay? DeSantis as the president, as the candidate, and Ivanka as the VP. You know why? Because the Trump camp will say at least there is a Trump there, and the Democrat camp that is not willing to vote for Donald, but they're willing to vote for Ivanka because they're comfortable with her. That's a very creative way of doing things. It's distance enough and close enough where the Democrat who are saying, I will not vote for Trump, but I think they'll vote for DeSantis and Trump. It's a creative way. Now, for that to happen, guys, I don't think DeSantis is going to pick her as a VP. I think DeSantis is a guy that plays it very safe.
Yeah. Tim Scott is for sure going to be his pick.
He's going to go with a guy.
Tim Scott?
Yeah,
somebody
like
sure.
DeSantis?
I don't know if it's... I don't have
why do you say
anything with
that?
VPs for sure, but...
He'd be a great pick.
Pat, who do you think Trump's VP pick would be if it just happened right now? Who would it be?
I just haven't heard his name thrown out there that much.
He asked a question, what do you think Trump's VP
Who's
is going to be?
Trump's VP pick would be if right now it happened right now?
Can I tell you who I think it's going to be? Someone that's not on this list.
I think so too.
That's
I mean,
Trump's,
Mike Pompeo might be he's a gangster, bro. That's CIA.
No, I think he'd
He's
go
not
with
gonna pick
Nikki
him.
Haley for sure. No,
I
if
don't
he
even
come back
think,
to
I
it.
don't even think he's going to go with anybody on
Anybody on
this
this
list.
list?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, FYI, just so everybody knows, guys, just so everybody knows, the next 2 years of media on this topic is going to be bonkers. Okay, the next 2 years, this is gonna be the ultimate Super Bowl of Super Bowls. You talking AFC, NFC,
WWF.
It's gonna be so freaking nasty.
I can't wait.
So and nasty is great for TV.
Big time.
You know what I'm saying? So
nasty-
we're gonna get nasty next couple
But
years.
here's the
revamp
question: is nasty good for America? I want what's good for America.
No,
not
but
good
CNN
for
CNN and them to come back out of the freaking grave, they need that. They need this.
Let's go to a couple
drama.
other stories here.
Hang on, Pat, real
so
quick. I've heard this come up twice now that voters are lazy, and I want to address this. Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg dumped 150 or whatever, how many hundreds of millions of dollars into a get out the vote campaign, pushing everybody to vote? Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. Because people don't do their research. They vote for who they're told to vote for. I don't think they have a big opinion on it. I think that's exactly why Adam's right. I don't think voters are lazy, but I don't think politics is the top of their list.
But wait a minute. Let's unpack that, my friend Tyler here. So I think majority are lazy, but the minority is going to determine the next president. And if you got 1 million people who flipped, you don't need everybody. That's 1 million people who flipped. That's the truth.
Yeah.
1 million who flipped. Okay. Is Trump good at making allies? What's his resume show in him creating allies?
He shoots himself in the foot.
Who's fired more people on his own administration than him? I don't know a lot of people. Okay. So that TV show was not a show. That's him. Okay.
100%.
So if he's gonna go, a person needs to get in there to give that side of marketing storytelling. If he continues with this part about, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair, he's got 3 to 6 months to make changes. I think 3 to 6 months later, it's going to be who's going to be pushed. I think as of right now, I actually agree with the way it is today. I think this thing can flip in 6 to 12 months, and it can flip very quickly.
In what regard? How flip it?
Flip meaning if he goes, people are not inspired by feel sorry for me. People are not inspired by it's not fair. That's not an inspirational message. People are not inspired by an entitlement message. And his messaging is, I deserve to be there right now. It's just, listen, it's not attractive. Go fight and win it again.
And especially
change your approach.
Like now when people are struggling so much with like inflation, with like basic needs, they could both think that he won and it was unfair, and feel like why is he not feeling sorry for me? Why am I being asked to expend pity on this person who's a millionaire and I can't afford to fill up my car with gas? I think that's really important.
This is like the easiest time for him to just say, I have nothing to say. This is all thing I will tell you. A month before COVID, here was the economy, before, after, and say nothing else. Just do that and show that. The PowerPoint of every speech he would give, if I was his campaign manager the next 3, 6, 12 months, I'm going to say the following. Look, let's move on with what happened with 2020 election. Forget about it. Let's move on with my conflicts with Pence. Let's move on with all that stuff. This is all I will tell you. This is me pre-COVID, what America was like. This is you today. How do you feel about it? How are you being impacted by it? Forget about if you don't like me because I'm pompous and I'm loud and I'm this. I'm from New York. This is my DNA. If you've been in the real estate world and you know how it is to compete, this is how you have to be to compete. I've been like this for 77, 78 years. It's what's helped me get here. This is how I got here. But forget about, set aside your emotions. You don't like me, okay, for me being loud. How do you feel about this? You know math. You don't need to know science to see this. What do you like? Do you like this or do you like this? When I was in, what did you hear about ISIS? What did you hear about this? What did you hear about that? What happened here? Our administration did a better job with this. Theirs is not. You want this, continue. If you don't, we're coming back. And if you want this, if he took that approach, a lot of the people that would hate him, they would go like this. I don't like this guy. But listen, I got to give him credit. He's showing. I got to give him credit. If he can't get out of his own way,
he's screwed.
You got 6 months. By the way, you only have 6 months. You only have 6 months to flip that. And I want to hit two other stories before we wrap up. One of them is a Newsweek story. I got to give you credit to Newsweek since you're part of Newsweek. Vladimir Putin to be called ruler of Russia under new proposal. A pro-Kremlin party is calling for Vladimir Putin to be referred to as Russia's ruler rather than a Russia president in order to move away from job description derived from a foreign language. The Nationalist Liberal Democratic Party proposed replacing the term president with pavitel, which means ruler, because the term president has not yet taken root completely in Russia. State-run outlet RIA Novosti reported. The LDPR said that the using of the term president has always been embarrassed us. The party argued in its proposal that the term was first used at the end of 18th century in the U.S. and much later it spread throughout the world. What do you, since this is Newsweek, what's this all about with ruler?
There it is.
How do you feel about this?
All right. I feel about this the way I feel about a lot of the coverage of Putin, which is that, the guy is a thug. The guy is a murderer. He has, Russia is not a real democracy. But at the same time, I feel like there's a kind of unhealthy obsession and a need to make him much bigger than he is in the media and in American politics. And I think that is connected to Trump. I mean, this is a new thing in American politics. I think our greatest adversary is China, and I don't understand why we haven't been trying to make alliances with Russia, which was more democratic before we took this adversarial approach. In an alliance against China, which is actually our greatest adversary, I think Russia's like, the war in Ukraine is horrible. It's devastating, but at the same time, that doesn't make Russia more than it is, which is essentially a petrostate. And we've screwed over our own working class and Americans and American pocketbooks and their ability to achieve a middle-class life by taking a side too strongly in this conflict. So that's how I see it. This is not praise for Putin. He's a thug and a murderer. The war in Ukraine was absolutely unjustifiable. But at the same time, we have a lot of culpability there. We have not done the most that we could to make sure that things did not end up here. And I think that we've actually screwed ourselves over when it comes to fighting China, which is a much bigger threat.
Mm-hmm. Well, Check. Everything you said, I totally agree with. You hit the nail on the head. I think that the famous quote is, Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country. Yeah. And you called it a petrol state. I'll never forget the conversation we had with the great director, Oliver Stone here. And I was like, who does Putin want to be? Stalin, Lenin? He goes, no. You got to go further back. And he said he wants to be Peter the Great. And now this just kind of confirms all that, where he wants to be called the ruler. The president is no longer. So in my mind, he's more of an Ivan the Terrible than Peter the Great. But this is, and then the last point is we need to refocus our agenda away from the Russia nonsense and focus more on China. We talk about that's our biggest adversary, but for 50 years it was Russia, and we've slowly seen China, become the number one, potentially number two country in the world right now behind the U.S. I think they're set to take us over GDP-wise by 2030, and that's where our focus needs to shift. So I'm not completely sure why we're so focused on Russia. It's we can't just shake it from our DNA from the last 50 years. I don't know.
Listen, to make it in the Russian politics for as long as this guy's made it, he's not a dummy. He's doing this for a reason. From the outside, you may sit there and say, what a terrible timing to do this, because you're allowing the world to say, look how egotistical you are to be called a ruler. There's a motive behind it. The world's going to find out in about 2 to 4 weeks on the real reason why they want to make this transition. Who knows what the reasoning is? But it doesn't show me that it's progressive. It shows me that it's kind of using this crisis as a way to go backwards to give even more control to him than going in the direction where the people are really in charge of that country. It's just saying, no, you're right. They're not in charge of the country. But look, at the end of the day, the last 2 years, we've definitely not worked on strengthening this relationship at all. So we did not get, closer to our enemy to calm them down. We've actually screwed this thing up, and we're spending too much time high-fiving and, fist-bumping guys from Saudi Arabia. Hey, what's up, dog? Hey, yeah, I know you guys killed that one journalist. All good. Don't worry about it. How you doing? It's a very weird foreign policy approach that we're taking. It's quite embarrassing if you think about it to the world on how they're viewing us. I want to wrap up with this one story, and then we'll go into the Jimbo thing. I don't know if we have time for it, but I'm going to do it anyways. A socialist exodus in Colombia. A socialist exodus in Colombia. Investments halted, and businessmen flee to Miami. After left-wing candidate Gustavo Petro triumphed in the second round of Colombia's presidential election on June 19, businessmen across the country began shifting their savings into dollars and halted their investment plans. Instead, entrepreneurs are looking to Miami or Panama to expand their businesses to survive the impending economic chaos. Petro, a former guerrilla, came to the elections proposing socialist and populist proposals such as the banning of hydrocarbons and fracking, massive taxes, and takeovers of unproductive lands, which were raised under the euphemism of democratization of properties. All these measures resurrect in Colombia as the ghost of Chavismo and leftist governments in Latin America, which have left economic crisis in their countries. Thoughts?
Well, to me, I'm going to think about this from like a domestic point of view. Like, you want to know why Hispanic voters are flocking to the Republican Party. It's because of stuff like this. The reason that minorities are increasingly seeing, a future for themselves in the Republican Party instead of the Democratic Party is because they know what authoritarianism looks like. They know what socialism looks like in practice. And when things like this happen, when they look to South America, look to Central America, and they see, the things that their parents told them about, their ancestors told them about, it really makes them, I think, feel some type of way about Democrats who are speaking in the same kind of language as these people that their families fled to come to the greatest nation on earth.
Check out this article, by the way. Tyler just pulled up. Get your money out now. Miami brokers target Colombian buyers after leftist election. What a great strategy, by the way. Wow. Adam, you got thoughts on this?
No, I just sent Tyler that article because, look, I'm born and raised in Miami. I have a lot of Colombian, Venezuelan, Brazilian, Argentinian friends. And I had a conversation with a Colombian friend of mine recently, and he says every night, wealthy and even the not so wealthy Colombians sit down and they talk about their plan B. Every night they sit down and they say plan B is when shit hits the fan here, and it's happening, is we move to Miami. Wow. And someone who lives in Miami that is a fan of the Colombian women, they're nice people, come on down. But a lot of real estate brokers in Miami, they're exactly what they're saying. They basically say, get your money out now and take your assets and come live in Miami. And that's exactly what's happening.
Pat made one last note. Well, you guys are talking stuff, and it's just that I think I'm a Marxist now because of Batya. So now I think I'm switching over because how dope was she as a guest?
She's awesome.
Amazing, Batya.
She's awesome.
It was great to talk
to have you on. I want to wrap this up with a message for some of you guys with this picture up here. That's my dog. The one to the right, Jimbo. Jimbo has been missing for 2 days now, okay? We went out to dinner on Saturday night with the kids. We came back. Both of them got out. Coochie to the left was found. Jimbo to the right was not found. And that same night I got on the jet ski. I went around the community to see if he fell in the water because that one time he fell, I went and got him. Not there. And we had the security camera to see if he got out of the community. This is North Fort Lauderdale area. He did not. So if anybody sees that dog, Jimbo, on the collar is my phone number. You should be able to get a hold of me. And if you do, you're in the North Fort Lauderdale area, I'm going to give a finder's fee of $5,000. If you do find Jimbo, this guy's been my best buddy since I started the insurance company 13 years ago. They're pretty much our first kids before we had kids. I would love to see this guy come back. The kids are not yet. I love my oldest son, Tico, is still being very optimistic, saying he's going to come. And it's great seeing their attitudes on how they're handling this. We're going through this because if you have a dog, you know what it is to have a dog. So again, if you know anybody in North Fort Lauderdale area, his name is Jimbo. He looks like that. $5,000 finder's fee. You can either send us an email, info@valuetainment.com, or text me on the number that's on his collar, Jimbo, North Fort Lauderdale area. Thanks for listening, guys. Tyler, go ahead.
You have a big thing coming up tonight.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Tonight I'm doing a real estate bubble webinar. If you haven't yet signed up, there's 20,000 people that have already registered for it.
Wow.
And the capacity is only 5,000. And last time we hit 5,000 within the first 5 minutes. So if you haven't yet registered, put the link below to go get registered to it. We've done weeks of research, hours and hours of research. And if you watch the Dave Ramsey market crash video, this is a different perspective on the market crash video, with a ton of data, and then you can make up for yourself what you want to do. There's a lot of folks in the real estate industry, mortgage industry, title, furniture, escrow, construction that are curious, and there's people that are not in the industry that are curious. You may want to get on that webinar. At the end of it, I'm going to give you a 20, 30-page PDF of all the things we talk about on tonight's webinar at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Put the link below in chat and the description for people to log on to. Last but not least, if you loved our guest today as much as we love Batya, go ahead and purchase her book, Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. And, if you really enjoyed the debates, I think we started debating from 5 minutes into it, right? It was not even, hello, hey, hi. I disagree. It was awesome. If you like that format, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You're awesome. Looking forward to having you back again.
Thank you so
Take care,
much.
everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.